Welcome to Mindful Live 105. I'm your host Nathan Springer. Welcome, it's a pleasure having you here. It is the 11th of July 2022. Thank you for being here. It's a Monday. Let's get the week off to an interesting start. So, what's on your mind tonight? Well, we started talking in the live before about the education system because I saw an article recently that was highlighting how shocked everyone was at the fact that the education system is now in the doldrums. Like, who could have predicted that? And I found that to be kind of hypocritical because many people were speaking about the negative trade-offs. Rodney Charles thinks Trinidad. Wow, I have that pulled up, but I don't know if I want to dive into that quite yet, Kuvon, because to dive into that, I think the best thing to do to dive into that would be, good night Slick Meek, would be to actually go into what's going on in Sri Lanka and what's going on in Holland, what's going on in several other places. I can't remember them off of the top of my head right now, but quite a few places are having disruptions to the global order, as it were. It's not just there. The reason Holland stuck in my mind, the reason Netherlands stuck in my mind, and I know we're leaning away a bit from the education system, but you know how we go sometimes. We just go with the topic as they go sometimes. The reason Holland, Netherlands stuck in my mind was not too long ago, about a week. No, not a week. Probably 2 weeks or so. An activist on Facebook posted a comparison of Trinidad and Tobago with Netherlands. Good night, Wendell AFM. Posted a comparison of Trinidad and Tobago with Netherlands. You know, look at the minimum wage in Netherlands and compared it to the price of bread or some other thing. And you know how some people generally do. Listen, Kevon, stop calling names. I didn't call any names there. You're trying to put me where I didn't put myself. But someone went through all that trouble and boasting about Netherlands and this glorious Dutch place, and how wonderful they have it now. First up, I hate all those comparisons. I regularly say it and I'll say it again. I hate all those comparisons because you're comparing nations with totally different histories, totally different makeups, totally different populations. The demographics are different. It just does not work like that. Ideologies are different. You cannot compare the two of them same for same like that. It just doesn't work like that. And on the other hand, I found it kind of humorous that the glorious comparison that was being made to wonderful Netherlands there, less than 2 weeks later, and we saw the farmers in Netherlands spraying manure, spraying faces. The farmers in Netherlands were spraying manure on some of their government buildings, shutting down their major highways, their major streets. The police in Netherlands fired live rounds of ammunition at, was it an 18-year-old farmer or something like that? Glorious Netherlands. Wonderful Netherlands. Over here in Trinidad and Tobago, our farmers aren't spraying manure all around the place. So careful what you wish for. Careful what you wish for. And I think I like to look at these examples sometimes to draw some perspective, because I think a lot of people don't have perspective when they talk about Trinidad and how bad Trinidad is and this is so horrible. Trinidad and Tobago, one thing that is clearly established pretty bad here is the crime situation. Nearly no comparison to that. Anywhere in the world you go, the crime situation Trinidad has is terrible. True. But many of the other conditions in Trinidad and Tobago aren't that bad comparatively. Now, I mean, if you're talking about compared to heaven or compared to the perfect utopia, of course it's not perfect. But compared to reality, compared to what else is out there in the world, we aren't generally the worst. And much of the crime, much of the violent crime in Trinidad and Tobago, to make full circle back to what I started talking about, much of the violent crime in Trinidad and Tobago, that's exactly what we were talking about just now, Wendell AFM. Much of the violent crime in Trinidad and Tobago is focused in on gang violence. It's not just random people walking the street and shooting each other. It's mainly gang violence, and that's barely a consolation. I mean, it's an explanation, but that doesn't help the fact that nonetheless, it's still teenaged Trinidadians dying on a daily basis, young men dying on a daily basis. But that same gang warfare business, because of the nature of how Trinidad and Tobago's violence works, we know what Trinidad and Tobago is most susceptible to, that gang warfare business. It's where we lose most of our young men. And then we had 2 years of out of school for these children. These children spent 2 years out of school. Within the first year, I believe, someone mentioned, was it, I can't remember the exact number, but if I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's seeming to ring a bell, somewhere around 42,000 children disappeared from the education system or something like that within the first year. A large number of children just disappeared from the education system, never to be seen again in the education system. And if we did that for 2 years, in a country that is very susceptible to gang violence, gang warfare, and the only reason you're susceptible to gang violence and gang warfare is because you have a lot of gangs, and the only reason you have a lot of gangs is because the gangs are effective at recruiting. The rate these gangs die at, these gang members die at, they obviously have to be recruiting members relatively quickly. If we give the gangs of Trinidad and Tobago 2 years of children, young men, home idle, and if we're being honest, the kind of young men that most gangs aim for in the first place, the kind of young men that most gangs would be going after in the first place, would be exactly the kind of young men who would not pay attention to online schooling. The kind of young men who may come from fatherless homes where they're there with their single mother. She may be working a fast food job, trying her best to put food on the table and make sure that all the physical needs are met, while he's just home there during the day. He has no time for online school, so he goes outside and he chills on the block with everybody else. He limes with the boys. What else is a guy supposed to do? Chill outside with the boys. And he's been doing that for 2 years. Chilling outside with the boys for 2 years is basically becoming a gang member for 2 years. That's what it's been doing. Yo, J. Chris, what's up? What's up? Over there on TikTok. As per usual, once you're inside of the live, whether you're streaming on TikTok, on Facebook, or over on YouTube, hit that like button. Allow the algorithm to feel your presence. You know, it really does help. It allows the notification to go out there to more people much faster. So hit that like button if you are viewing the live, and you can feel free to head over to my YouTube channel, Nathan Springer, over on YouTube, where you can get most of the lives there. If you ever miss them, you can get them there, and my other YouTube videos that I usually do that happened to thousands of young men in TNT during the shutdown. So you all have a list of names here, yeah bro. Good night, blessings. Good night, Narish Ramasa. Yo, Akiba Brito over there on Facebook. Nice to have you logging in there, Akiba Brito. Yes, Kevon, that did happen to thousands of young men in TNT during the lockdowns. And can you imagine now, or is it at all surprising now, where when you see this serious upsurge in crime? Can it really be surprising? Bad parenting is all that's to blame. I disagree, Rooney. I agree for a part of it, but I disagree. I don't think it's all to blame. We do live in a society. At the end of the day, we do live in a society. All of us live in a society where we affect each other with each other's decisions. So yes, parenting ultimately is what results in how a child turns out. Ultimately, it's up to the parents for the most part. But in the wider society, we all have parts to play that could have positive and negative effects on that. So the parents weren't the ones that decided the schools would be locked down for 2 years. That wasn't on the parents. So yes, maybe the parents should have been there to make sure they could have held up the lacking bit. Held up the lacking bit that the school systems may have been slipping on during the lockdown. That's the parental duty, but many parents weren't there. We all decided that it was okay to remove sanctuary of school from those kids in dysfunctional homes. That's the truth, Kevon, the fact of the matter. And I remember making a contemplation about this since last year, some of my earlier videos. And I was speaking about that for many students. And if we're being honest about the school system, for many students, the school system was the only place some of them had caring parental figures. Some of them, the teachers they had were the only positive role models in their lives. And that kind of modeling, the amount of attention that is needed to pull this child away from the environment that surrounds them in their home, that cannot be done over the internet. Some of those teachers would have known some of these students were right there on the edge. I've been a teacher. You can look and you see some of these students. You see them, you can see that, you can look into their life and you see the student is on the edge. And the strange thing is oftentimes some of these students have so much potential. You know their potential is quite up there. Is really high. Their potential. Honestly, I had absent parents, Ramdin says. However, I just graduated from doing Form 6 at NAPS. Clappers for that, man. Congratulations on that. 100% congratulations on that. And I know for sure that's a difficult thing. Some of us with both parents very much there still struggle to finish simple schooling. So congratulations on that, because they didn't have a safe home for their child. Ronnie, I am not disagreeing with you, you know. Yes, parents are ultimately at fault, but here's the thing. The fault and responsibility dilemma that we are in. When these young men now run out in the streets as gang members and are robbing people, shooting indiscriminately, a 16-year-old died in Maraval over the weekend here, and from the accounts they said that he was an innocent person in this. He was a good student, a good role model. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's part of the problem with the whole gang warfare business. Yes, they are aiming at each other, but these men are not sharpshooters. They came for one person and they're shooting indiscriminately. Who gets picked up will get picked up. And that's the thing. Although it's on the parents, yes, one of these boys' parents didn't do their job. These boys' parents were lazy parents, but at the end of the day, whether the parents were bad or not, the young men are still distressing the nation. So it's on the nation, nonetheless, with bad parents, good parents, indifferent parents, to try and figure out some way to figure it out and stop it. Kevon says unions, PTAs, and Karens were so terrified of the Wuhan that they sacrificed the children. The Karens added in there. Wow. Yeah, and I'm not even sure if some of that was because they were terrified. I think some people just did not want to do the work. When I look at over in the United States, their teachers' unions, some of them were just plain lazy. Aramden says the education system and my teachers did contribute towards who I am right now. I'm glad to hear that. Aramden, on that note, hit me up in my inbox. Right here, you could hit me up in my TikTok inbox. Maybe we could do a little interview. That sounds like a very interesting story that may make a nice video for some other folks. So hit me up in my inbox if you'd like to talk about that. Slick Meek says most young men are feeling anything instead of standing for something. Are falling for anything instead of standing for something. Okay. Ha! Rooney. I am not calling my local teachers lazy. Stop it. But yes, I think some of the actions that were taken back then didn't really even have to do with fright from the virus. It had to do with the fact that they didn't want to. Very few, Ronnie. I'm not going to speak badly about my local teachers. But it all links together, as I was saying. Yes, it's on the parents, but it's also on the wider society, because the wider society is going to pay. That's like the riots are the voice of the unheard. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the main guy, the hero of the civil rights movement. Stop it, Rooney. The hero of the civil rights movement. He is attributed with saying or coming up with the quote that riots are the voice of the unheard. And some people, especially in the Black Lives Matter movement that went on over the last couple years, some people took that as nearly like as a piece of advice. You know, riots are the voice of the unheard. So if you feel like your voice isn't being heard, then you have to go there and riot and get things violent. But it was not meant as a piece of advice, because it's horrible advice. The example I said in the video I made on this, the contemplation I made on this, is think of it like someone telling you that if you corner a dog, it's going to bite you. A cornered dog is going to bite you. Now, that's not advice to the cornered dogs that they should go around biting people. Because as a doggy, the more people you bite, the higher the likeliness that they're going to kill you. But it's a good warning to the people that, hey, even if you kill the dog afterwards, you'll still get bitten. Careful how you corner dogs. They may bite you. Similarly, if you go through society and even if it's not your fault, but just by the regular functioning of society, whatever it is in the society causes some people in society, enough people in society, to feel like they are not capable of their voice being heard out there, to feel like that, then it is inevitable that they are going to start to do things to make their voice be heard. They're going to get more drastic. They're going to engage in more drastic measures. So as a country, it's in our best interest to make sure those things don't happen. That's the reason, that's a big part of the reason why countries engage in all kinds of different charities too. Not only to be good citizens, but the fact is, if you leave too many people in your country not being well taken care of, they'll have nothing to lose. And if you have a group of people in your country with nothing to lose, they're going to take what you have to lose from you. That's generally how it goes. So that riots being the voice of the unheard business wasn't advice to the unheard people that they should go out there and riot. No, contrary, you shouldn't. But it's advice to the country and a warning that it's all of our responsibility nonetheless, because when unheard people start to act up in their unheardness, we are all going to feel the effects of it. When those residents block the highway, block the main road, and block the bus route, you could cuss them, you could don't like them, you could call them bad names, you could look down on them. It isn't making much of a difference. Either way, your day is going to be interrupted because of that. Every single time. Kevon says specifically, young men, if they are unoccupied and don't feel like they have a chance to move up, they revolt. Kevon, you see that discussion, that's a discussion I'd like to go into sometime kind of in depth. And these are some of the things that some people don't understand about older, more traditional structuring of society. Part of the structuring of society was with the intention of not having too many single, aimless young men. If you have a large amount of single, aimless young men, many societies have found out how terrible that is. You do not want a large number of single, aimless young men. And one of the things that gets young men aimed really well, really quickly is marriage and family. Do with that information as you will. Now, as I was saying though, it is in all of our interests to try and get these issues solved. Now, I was looking over, as this whole business was going on with the police shooting in Port of Spain and the police coming out and saying what they see, etc., 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 etc. I was looking out at it, and one of the points I was making when I was talking about the protests themselves, something that frustrates me with the protests, like, I understand what you're trying to do. The residents in East Port of Spain, they feel like they only have one trump card. Our trump card is where we are located. We can shut down the main arteries of the country. So anytime something is done against them, they play their one trump card. However, I think the problem with that is they aren't asking for anything while they play their trump card. The way I phrased it is, if you're holding the country to ransom, you have to actually make a ransom demand. What do you want? And the vague calls for justice just doesn't work. They just don't work, because either way the police are going to say they're going to give you justice. But I made this statement that maybe what they should be asking for is camera footage. And I've seen some claims about that, where one of the survivors picked up a very high profile attorney, and the attorney was making the point, making it known to the police, make sure you save all of that evidence there. Attorney for survivor of police shooting tells Jacob, release CCTV footage. The family of 15-year-old Malachi Glenn, one of the 3 survivors of the police-involved killing in Port of Spain, which claimed the lives of the 3 young men, is calling on the acting commissioner of police, MacDonald Jacob, and the Police Complaints Authority Director, David West, to release CCTV footage of the incident. The family instructed their attorney, Omlala, to write the acting commissioner requesting the CCTV footage. And he also requested that he keeps all of the footage safe. Thank you, Rhea. The mindful godparents ready for duty. I was saying that when that time comes, I could have my little baby right here, and we'll do the lives together, you know. We'll sit and read the news together. But yeah, and this is something that I was saying. I could understand that. Calling for the CCTV footage. That is a request to me. Now, I don't want it to sound like I'm recommending illegal activities. I am not recommending anyone engage in any criminal activities. I'm making that clear from the jump. No criminal activities, anyone. No one. Please, no. Not by my name. Okay, grand. However, if you were to hold the country to ransom, if before the protests shutting down the highways and byways, etc., into Port of Spain, the request was made for the CCTV footage, and then it was insinuated that perhaps the passageways into the town would be more passable the faster the footage be released. At least now we have a request for the ransom. I just vibe immediately that the police were lying on this issue. To me, now, I don't want to put my head on a block for anyone, because I don't know anyone like that. But I wouldn't put my head on a block for the police either, because the police don't show themselves to be totally trustable. And something about this issue to me, something about this issue does not seem 100% right. Independence Square. Like, if these guys were aiming at real nefarious activity, coming from a party in Diego Martin, going in the direction of their home, what nefarious activity were they going to do in Port of Spain 3 o'clock in the morning in the direction towards their home? I mean, if there was a claim of them committing a robbery earlier in the night, if there was a claim of a shooting somewhere in between Diego Martin and Port of Spain, okay, but what was their bad intent that they were up to that night? Something just doesn't seem totally right to me. Now, I don't know. The investigation would have to come out and say that. So, were there any other bullet holes in the direction the police were in? The police, I believe, showed some bullet holes on their vehicle, but that doesn't say anything, because the police show guns on people who didn't have guns before. So that doesn't necessarily negate anything. No footage of a shooting on Independence Square past one day is very suspect, and that's the very same thing I was saying. I agree with the lawyer. Release the footage. However, the acting commissioner of police is not so enthused to release that footage. His statement on this: If someone releases footage from their house, that is something else. But for police to release information in a police investigation, what are some people really calling for? Jacob asked. Some people in this society who know better. All they want to do is create havoc and confusion for political and other gains. Owing to the seriousness of the matter, Lala said on Saturday he asked for the integrity of the CCTV footage from the police cameras and surrounding businesses to be preserved. But Jacob says that what are people really asking for? How could such a thing happen? Now, I don't know what the laws are like in Trinidad and Tobago, but I know in other countries, other jurisdictions in the world, when a police shooting happens that seems so sensitive, one of the things the police do as quick as possible is release clear camera footage to corroborate their version of events. Because to me, camera footage cannot disrupt the investigation. How is camera footage going to disrupt the investigation? Richard Glubman, the resident apologist for the Boys in Blue, says not true. But that is true. I am not asking you this as an unknown question. I'm telling you this as someone who reads a lot of news. The shooting where the man was shot 60-something times in the United States most recently, one of their most recent police shootings. That footage was out within a couple days, within the next day or something like that, very quickly. They have some of these police divisions create policies to release the footage quickly for that very same purpose. If anything, it would prove their so-called innocence. Precisely. I don't understand this whole apprehension in releasing footage because, you know, we don't want to speak on these things too early. And the strange thing is Mr. McDonald Jacob. Where did he say this? I wonder if I could find the article where he said this, where he was talking about, you know, you don't want to speak too early on these issues, on these criminal issues. He was raising a serious point, you know, when these kind of activities happen, you don't want to put your mouth in on it too quickly. We don't want to start talking about it before, you know, we prejudice the investigation. And then I was recalling that this same Mr. McDonald Jacob went down in Diego Martin and said that the criminals declared war down in Diego Martin because his boys lied to him and told him that somebody in Diego Martin killed another police officer. He went down there and put his mouth on there before there was a full investigation. So it's so strange that these officers are able to put their mouths on things when there aren't full investigations, but once it's on their side, they could come in and talk, you know, plain and put down a clear fist, like the strong one on television, who went right after that and, you know, made some clear pronouncements of some things like he knew it in fact. But anytime it's something on the other side, you know, wait, we mustn't talk. We mustn't talk too quickly. You know, we must hold till the investigation is complete. Kervon said, I used to give the police the benefit of the doubt, but the TTPS keep behaving like lords. Listen, I've heard some TTPS people talk. The attitude of the TTPS, they don't have that S in it. They don't have the service attitude. Many of the officers go in there and have a higher than thou mentality. To be honest, a lot of how Richard Glubman speaks here scares me of the police. They are so quick to excuse what they do when they are the ones holding the power. They are the ones, when you are the one holding so much of the power, you are always supposed to be the one most introspective. It's like as a parent, speaking as someone, you know, soon to be a parent out there, well, already a parent, you know, I can speak in such experience now. But yes, as a parent, you have so much mismatched power over your child. You have to be the one always being introspective. Am I overdoing it? Am I pushing my child too much? Am I being too harsh on my child? Am I being too hard on my child? Because you are the one with the power, and the police are like the parent that always question if the child is wrong. You're the one, you're grounding the child, you're beating the child, you're doing all of this to the child, you have all this power over the child, and every time something comes up where there's some kind of questionability, the only thing that happens is you always look on the outside. Someone else must have done something. That I find is a scary thing. These are the men with the guns in our country. Listen, if our police service wanted to act like that, I would have preferred that we had gun laws like the United States. How much you want to bet? If we had gun laws like Texas, if we had gun laws like Florida, our TTPS would have understood the meaning of S. Now, I don't know how many of you remember the Breonna Taylor story over in the United States. A young lady who was killed by police raiding her home. Now, an interesting tidbit out of that. Her boyfriend woke up, fired shots at the police, shot one of the police, shot him with his gun, and got away for it. Because in the US, their lawyers understood that if the police break into my house, kick down my door in the night, and I own a gun, I'm going to return fire as protecting myself. If we had those kind of laws in Trinidad and Tobago that understood and placed every citizen at an equal level, a lot of the police nonsense would have cut out. But our laws in Trinidad place the police at a kind of... How many of... If you have ever listened to old police talk and under God is the police, I don't know how many of you have heard statements like that. Under God is the police. It's the attitude of a lot in the TTPS, and that's something that needs restructuring. And I've said this way back. I don't think the TTPS would be successful in restructuring if they have a police officer out of the TTPS leading the TTPS. We need an outsider, someone who does not have friends inside of the police service, someone who is not afraid to fire people, someone who doesn't have no, hey, batch, oh, batch, oh, batch. You see that batch nonsense? Cut it out. We don't want any batch inside of Commissioner of Police. We need someone who doesn't have friends there. And that's what we need to restructure something like this, out of that gang mentality. Someone was asking and talking about the body cams, and this is why I say we need someone from the outside to deal with this thing. Someone just rose a question about the body cams, and the commissioner spoke about that recently too. Bodyless cameras. Top cup. TTPS lacks infrastructure to outfit officers. Earlier this year, 1,120 body cams were purchased for police officers. Sorry, but Acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob. However, in an interview with the Sunday Express yesterday, he said the cameras were not distributed because of the lack of technological infrastructure. He also said police officers do not consistently wear body cameras, and in some units of the TTPS, none are outfitted. But this will soon change, according to Jacob, who said yesterday, there's a perception by some members of the public that police officers do not want to subject themselves to the wearing of body cameras. There isn't just that perception. He says there's a perception. A perception. He says there's a perception by members of the public that the police officers don't want to wear the body cameras. You know where we got that perception, Mr. Jacobs? We got that perception from the police officers who said, with their own words, that they do not want to wear the body cameras. What do you mean we have that perception? We have that perception because you all told us that. This is not the case, he says, though. Adding that the fact remains the TTPS is currently without the necessary technological facilities to outfit all officers with such devices. Now, listen to me. I don't know about y'all. Maybe I don't know how this tech goes. But isn't a body camera basically a GoPro that you press, boop, and it sends a signal to a central thing? Like, what massive technological infrastructure are you talking about, sir? Like, how much infrastructure is there needed to clip a GoPro onto a police uniform? What are we talking about here? Listen, when I see things like this, I have to assume I am ignorant. I don't know what is going on here. This is just way above my understanding level. I just don't understand these things because I don't understand. Isn't this a GoPro attached to a police uniform for the most part? It have the infrastructure. It was installed, says can you sig trigger? At the same time, however, he said that shortcoming is something actively being ironed out, and it can be expected that by the end of next month, at least 1,120 more police officers will be outfitted with body cameras. Here's his caveat, though. At least that is the target, he said. You know, that's the target. You know, you can miss the target sometimes. You don't always hit the target. So when people stop talking about body cameras again, maybe we'll discuss that again 2023. Now, now, Double G, as many know, is not one afraid to speak on such issues. And Double G had a comeback for this. Body camera blows. Gary Knox, Commissioner of Police's body cam claims. The statement of Acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacobs that there is currently a lack of technological infrastructure within the TTPS to facilitate the overall use of body cameras by police officers is nothing short of nonsensical. So said former Commissioner Gary Griffith yesterday, who added all that is needed is the ability of officers to turn the cameras on and off, strap the devices to their bodies, and for police stations to have internet connection in order to download any footage that may be required. Now, this is what I thought. This is what I thought. You turn the camera on, you turn the camera off, and you need internet. Now, Mr. Jacob actually went down, and he said that they are currently training some officers to use the body cameras. How do you train people to use a body camera? You show them where the on and off button is. How long does it take to train people how to use a body camera? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Gary Griffith said it there. On, off, strap it on, internet in the police station. What are we talking about here? Griffith also lashed out at claims by Jacob on Saturday that he, Jacob, was the one who had purchased 1,120 body cams earlier this year, saying last year under his, Griffith's tenure as commissioner, that the body cams were purchased and Jacob simply received the shipment. Now, say what you want about Double G. I have my criticisms about Double G myself. Many I have made. But I think Double G would have been more dogged on pushing for the officers to wear body cams because he doesn't have a batch inside of the police. That might be part of the simple reason why he doesn't have the same kind of friend connection inside of there. It is ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. And if it's just a matter of strapping on cameras, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off, and then downloading it at the police station, what is the real reason that we don't have those cameras? Just like how the GPS in the cars officers was pulling it out. Now, that's another one too. They said that they're installing also new cameras inside of the police vehicles too. Yes, they're installing all of that. These problems are so simple, and when they start to get so complicated, you understand that someone is interfering inside of this. It's nothing complicated. Body cameras are not that complicated. He is lying to us. This is what you call gaslighting the public. Body cameras are not that complicated. Body cameras are not that complicated. Come on. We don't have the infrastructure in Trinidad and Tobago. We still have to wait for the technology. Listen. I am streaming over my home internet on 3 different social media sites. Little me, sitting here in my home. about Trinidad doesn't have the technological infrastructure. What are you talking about? This is Trinidad and Tobago. We have 14-year-old gamers streaming in Trinidad and Tobago. We have 14-year-old gaming streamers with our technological advances. What are you talking about? We don't have the technological infrastructure to have a GoPro strapped onto police uniforms. What are you talking about? And when you look at something like this, when you look at the excusing, this is what I keep saying about the police service, and what sometimes people like Mr. Glubman that regularly defends them in the chat seem like they don't understand when the public looks at the police service. Yes, you could look at it and say, maybe, let's say if this incident wasn't proper, maybe it may only be the 4 officers involved in the shooting may have done something terrible. Okay, it may have only been them. But when you look at it and you see the entire police service, seems like they always play defense for each other. All of the police service members, there never seems to be a member in the police service who is sharply critical of the police service. Everyone is always hedging and playing defense for them. Richard Glubman says, so servers to download and store that info descent have to be bought asking for a friend. I ain't a police, I fed up of that at that. I didn't say you're a police. I said you're the defender of the police. You've said many times you aren't an officer. Servers have to be... How long would it take to buy a server? Even if you had to buy a server, how long would it take to buy a server? Also, you don't have to buy a physical server. Almost surely, what you would do is purchase some cloud space. So what are you talking about? Purchase a server. All you need is high-speed internet. That is literally all you need. High-speed internet, and you will purchase cloud space. No one goes buying hard drives anymore. No police service needs to do that. They purchase cloud space, and Mr. Jacob, I didn't read through all that he said. There was a bit more. He spoke about the needing, to integrate the facility so those in the command center would be able, and he's trying to speak like he's really speaking technical jargon here, we don't have the facilities yet and we need to integrate the facility. Blah, blah, blah. It's a cloud. It's a cloud. We don't need to run a landline across the country from police station to police station. No. The police service purchases some space in the cloud and certain officers have access to it from certain stations. Simple like that. Infrastructure. To clip on a GoPro and press start. Come on, don't mama guy us like that. And when you're looking at this, as I keep saying, how is someone to look at it and now they'll say, well, it's not the entire police service. There are some good officers and there are some bad apples. But if it looks like the entire police service is hedging around this thing, they don't want to install the body cameras, they just transfer each other from one station to the other. When they do misdeeds, nothing ever gets solved. Come on. Top Flick says, I remember GG bought some body cameras a while ago and officers refused to wear them. Yes, they said they refused to wear them. They don't want to wear them. Richard Glubman says that I can tell you national security, secure info don't go on the cloud. National security info, you would consider that body camera footage? I think body camera footage could go on secure clouds and you can buy secure cloud storage. A lot of the cloud storage might be more secure than their storage. Their storage may be more accessible to hackers. So the excuses are tedious to me. The excuses are really tedious. It's so difficult, really. It's so difficult to get this done. As Gary Griffith said in this article, the technological infrastructure is total nonsense. This is not a backbone system for a national operations center that you need to have a lot of computers and networks and network and fire optics. This is a simple body camera that any citizen can buy in the store and clip on. This is not a system where you have to have video feedback to a command center. No other police service in the world has that, he said. No other police service in the world has what Mr. Jacob is claiming they are really waiting for. That kind of infrastructure. My mustache makes me look wise. Thank you, sir. Makes me, yeah, look, I understand that. Look and appear. I saw the first time. But yeah, it's it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. You could try to claim it, you could try to see it. It just does not make sense. Either way you put it. And even as all of this is going on, the police are struggling. The TTPS seem to be struggling. PCA, cops in raid on Rich Plain Mosque may have committed criminal offenses. Do I twist it? Yes, to some extent. Not a lot on the edges, though. You just mildly twirl. You mildly twirl. If you twist too much on the end, you could, break the ends a bit. So a mild twirl. Listen, the 17th, when that mask business done, my mustache is going to be enjoying itself. It's waiting, it's counting down to the 17th. It will be free. That mask is a fight down to the mustache. But yes, the PCA has forwarded a file to both the DPP and the Office of the Attorney General after an investigation found that officers who raided a mosque in Rich Plain, Diego Martin in April may have committed not only criminal offenses, but also breaches to the Constitution. They must really hate Double G for that. It is the insider take that really hits them hard. But yeah, this same masquerade had to do with the same officer that was killed by other officers. And when this masquerade, to me, shows the extent police would be willing to go to cover up their own acts. Do you think masking was abused by criminals? Hell yes. Of course. The criminals loved that masking business. They really abused that. But this is the scary part. This right here is the part that scares people. The police concocted a story framing an innocent man. Off of their concocted story, they were able to raid a mosque, abuse parishioners, desecrate some of the religious grounds they said also. So some of those officers may be facing some serious prosecution coming out of that. But it shows you the scariness of police because of their power. Because of their power. I don't like Gigi, but I feel like it would be better for him to come back. I don't know in terms of that better and worse necessarily. Personally, I do not find the current commissioner to be up to mark. The current commissioner reminds me a lot of, what was that previous commissioner's name? The one before Double G. The guy that kind of seemed like he wasn't doing anything. Stephen Williams. Jacobs reminds me of Williams, and that's why I keep saying I don't want to see a batch inside of the Commissioner of Police. I don't want any batch. Please, no batch. Please. None. Get someone managerial, someone who understands how to run as it were a company, how to run an institute. Please. These batch members, when they reach to that point, they're just there dragging. They're dragging themselves to retirement. They don't want to mash anyone's corn. They don't want to hurt anyone. They don't want to rock the ship. They don't want to disrupt anybody. They made their friends and their allies on the way up, and they just have a few more years till retirement, and they're just there, the crime and new police vehicles, and we're investigating, and it's going to be, it really seems kind of like they're inept, to be very honest. They seem kind of inept. You sign up for next commissioner. No, they changed the rules, so I wouldn't even qualify. But my point is, I don't think the commissioner should be coming from inside the police service. I don't think so. I really don't. And if the commissioner does have to come from inside the police service, then make it a public voting business. Like some people do with a sheriff, make it as it were a sheriff and let us vote for commissioner. That way, it wouldn't be a matter of someone who has the friends and allies and knows how to make their political movements inside of the police service. It isn't them inside at the top. Vote for it like sheriff. Vote for them. If they have to come from another batch, vote for them like sheriff. Macmillan Lady Mark says over on Facebook, good night. Do you believe the citizens should be the one to vote for the police commissioner instead of parliamentarians? That's what I was just saying. The public will be biased. Who isn't biased? So what do you mean the public will be biased? Will be biased towards what? The public would be biased towards getting themselves safe. If the public votes for a sheriff as commissioner, what would they be biased towards? Not voting towards getting themselves safe? I think, let's think about this. Who has the most vested interest in getting the best commissioner? Is it the fellow members of the police service? Is it the fellow members of the police service who all have their own guns and their own protection? Is it the parliamentarians who all have private security and live in secure areas? Is it the members of the police service commission who also very likely may be living in Federation Park somewhere with private security? Or would it be the members of the public who have to face the criminals on a daily basis? Who has the most vested interest in getting the best possible officer at the top? Does Minister Hines have any tactical training for him to be National Minister of Security? Well, he was a police officer. Minister Hines was a police officer previously, and he was also, I believe, a criminal lawyer. He is a lawyer. I believe he was a criminal defense lawyer. So he has some experience in the field. And on the other hand, the National Security Minister doesn't necessarily need any tactical experience because he isn't supposed to be, as it were, running the police service. He is there to make sure that the police service is well stocked and well supplied, and all that they say they need, he supplies them with. The Commissioner of Police is supposed to be the one trained in tactics. Now, when I look at Mr. Jacobs, the tactical training doesn't seem to be screaming out from him. So, there's that. It had voting, Gigi probably would have still been in. If it had voting, probably. Ria says, off topic, you all saw the article where central bank now realize people living... They didn't now realize that. They're now talking about that. That's been known long time now. But yeah, I am okay. This is my view. If we have the Police Service Commission and technocrats choosing the Commissioner of Police, choose from outside of the police service. Choose a good administrator. If we're choosing from inside the police service, then let the public vote for it. We shouldn't have technocrats choosing and they're choosing from inside the police service. That sounds like a recipe for corruption, because it's going to be, you have to wheel and deal and rub shoulders in the right place and make friends with the right person. Ainsley 1250, what's your view on Melangen Bygone being $75 to $85 for one? Listen, Gary wasn't a good administrator. I don't know. I don't know about the administration side. And as I've said many times, listen, you could see, I don't even need to say that. I've said quite a few times that I wasn't a good fan, a great fan of him. Where's your evidence? Evidence of what? Mr. Jacob is failure. He just wasting taxpayers' money. Ainsley, that $75 to $80 business. I have bygone in my garden. My bygone and melangen is growing well. I haven't been to the market in a while. My cassavas are grown. I have some sweet potato. I have my eddos and dasheen. I have, well, of course, the fruit trees there. That $75, $80 bygone business, that's not bothering me. That is not my business because I don't buy that. So that's whoever is buying that business. $75 for a buy. One buy got no man. Y'all, no man. Nah. Richard Glubman, Double G is a failure. Kevon Gary did well to make the police look more visible for a short time. Can I come pick by you? Ha ha ha. For a price. Kevon says he also presided over massive police taxation and abuse of the public. I'm not petitioning for Gary here, by the way. I'm petitioning for a change of the system. We vote, if it's inside the police service, we vote. If it's not, choose someone from outside. And people are saying that Gary was horrible, but who do you think was good? Who do you think was a good commissioner? Who do you think was a good commissioner? Like, in your mind, thinking back, who was a good commissioner? I'm not sure there were any. What do you use for snail? Girl, you talking about that? I just went today and bought 2 massive bags of the Deadline snail bait. Well, it wasn't the Deadline. I bought the Caribbean Chemicals one. I have some Deadline and I have another version from Caribbean Chemicals. 2 snail bait, very effective. But where my garden is located, generally out there doesn't have much snails. Bless the Lord for that. But the snails are home by me. Jeez. Dwayne Gibbs, Stephen Williams. I wouldn't put Williams there. Williams, I don't find Williams was no. Williams was no. Don't do us that. No, not Williams. No, please, not Williams. Burrows. Hi. Well, you looking for a different kind of commissioner there, sir. A different kind of commissioner. He had more police-involved shootings because he was working. Philbert. You know, I find, no offense to these people, they may have been good people. They may have been good people. But Mr. James Philbert, Mr. Stephen Williams, Mr. McDonald Jacob, and they have so very English names though, eh? They could be it sounds like they come from the same cut. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying. Like, listen to the names. James Philbert, Stephen Williams, McDonald Jacobs. Like, so very, very, very English names. Like, they sound like they could come from the same community. But I didn't find them very proficient. I found all of them suffered from the very same batch problem. I find all of them suffered from the very same batch problem. I do not want a batch. No more batch. Not at the top. Not at the top. That's not what you need at the top. Macmillan Lady Mark says, once the person, whoever becomes the commissioner, can weed out those rogue police officers, then the public trust will be restored in the TTPS, and we will see a drastic decrease in criminal activity because people will give up on the criminal elements in their neighborhoods. You see, the point you're making there, once that person could get out the rogue police elements, to me, once you're a police commissioner in Trinidad and Tobago, if you're a police commissioner in Trinidad and Tobago and your life is not under threat from corrupt police, then you are not doing your job. As a police commissioner, this is my litmus test to see if a police commissioner is good. When you reach into that post, I want to hear you say that your life is under danger from other police. If you do not say that, then you are not doing your job. Because we know for a fact they are corrupt police. We know for a fact that some of those corrupt police are willing to kill to hide their corruption. So if you are not being threatened, if your life isn't in any kind of danger, then you are not threatening their corruption. Yes, I know Gigi said he had many threats on him. I remember that. We will always have rogue cops. That's true. In order for TT to have a successful commissioner, we need to rewrite the constitution. Good luck with that. But yeah, anytime you're in there and all the police love you, I know your job, you ain't doing your job right. You are not doing your job correctly. Some police are supposed to want you dead because they are corrupt and you are hunting their corruption. Damian Salandi, that right there was probably my main point with Double G. I found someone in that position, someone in a position like that, does not, should not, cannot be so sensitive to respond every time your name was called. When he was there, I had a nickname. I used to call him Beetlejuice, because anytime you say his name 3 times, he would appear like Beetlejuice. And that's not a good thing for someone of that stature. You're a busy person. Go out there and do your work. People bad talking you on Facebook shouldn't really be pulling your attention. I think that took away from him. Like, in the beginning, he got some laughs for it. He got some extra attention for it. And then he started just getting in too much into that. It's like, isn't it like a kind of Trump thing? Like, sir, please, Trump needed to come off Twitter. Double G needed to come off Facebook. If you get another chance, Double G, please just stay off of Facebook. Stay off of Facebook. Yeah, and you will never win that battle. You will never win that battle. If you, it's something like, okay, I'm not saying this in any kind of boastful way, but my platform is relatively large now. I have over 20,000 followers over here on TikTok. If someone starts quarreling with me, and they are in an anonymous profile in my chat, and they start quarreling and cussing me, and I am here with my whole government face and government name, and I cussing them back getting heated here, there's no way I could win that. I can't win. They are anonymous, unknown. They could say anything. They have no consequence for what they say. They have no consequence for what they say. So I will not win that kind of battle. And that's something to me that he needed to understand. You cannot win that. It's impossible to win that. It's an unwinnable battle. It's something that you stay out of. You read it, you read the comments, and you ignore it. Or you don't read it if you cannot ignore it. Macmillan says rewriting the Constitution requires electing 41 new parliamentarians who have no affiliation to any political party. And good luck with that. Good luck with that. All right, folks, that's all I have for now. We nice. Never trouble. Ha. That's all I have. Any further questions or comments before I dive out? Tell Gigi foolish dogs back behind flying birds. Well, I can't tell anyone that. I don't have the man's number or anything like that. Me and him aren't on a, WhatsApping basis or something for me to tell him that. We know it have no afterlife again. How you know that? Ainsley, do you have an open day to meet your fans? You're talking the same thing that Ria was talking. Yes, there is going to be such a day. Part of my problem is I know where my proficiencies are, and my proficiencies aren't particularly in planning. So I'll have to organize with someone who is better at planning. Macmillan says, before you leave, this is the first time I'm listening. When are you on again? I am on generally every single weeknight from 9 for the Mindful Live. Macmillan, Lady Mac over there on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. The lives are usually nice. You should join some other time. It will be nice. He watching, trust me, he still have his agents inside. Well, I don't know if he's watching my particular live. He may be watching, but I don't know if he's watching my particular live. Anyone who call his name, he does reach. Mr. Double G, sir. Utmost respect. No disrespect meant, sir. You do you, sir. You do you. You do you. All right. Anything else before I dive out? Well, you did call his name 3 times. Yes, I did. Now I should be nervous. I did call the man's name. You see, Kamala Tifa said to go back for commissioner of police so you don't go up for election. I don't think she Tifa said. I don't think she Tifa said, because him going up for election wasn't going to make. Let me rephrase that. I don't think him going up for election was going to make any big difference. I think him going for commissioner of police is actually a smarter decision than attempting the political route. I don't think that he has what it takes to go out on his own and pull that support. Not in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago's politics just does not work like that. You have to come real good. If money could buy life, the rich will live and the poor will die. That's true. If it could have. But it cannot. All right, folks, thank you for being here. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the next Mindful Live at 9 p.m. Hear the excitement in my voice. And my baby girl is going to be here soon. Who, Philip? Behave yourself, area. Who, Philip? Behave yourself. Both. Let me just say that. Ask him how much sort officers he allows. Oh, hey. That talk, I am gone. Nice.